Welcome everyone to another episode of The Dig, where we talk about everything from volleyball, jump training, and dig deeper into the life behind the person. And I'm excited to announce our next guest today. His name is Dustin Watten, and he's sporting the cool shades. You'll also find him on his Instagram, which is just Dustin Watten, where he gives a lot of instructional inspiration pieces, and he's also known for the no easy buckets mentality. So make sure you check that out, and I'll leave that in the link in the description box. I want to start us off with a little fast session of what I call 10 in 60, where he's got to answer 10 questions in 60 seconds. All right, you ready to go?
Yep.
All right, let's do this. Favorite food?
Sushi.
Amazing dig or an amazing serve receive pass?
Amazing dig.
Ace or kill?
Ace.
Mikasa or Molten?
Molten.
Ketchup or mustard?
Ketchup.
All right. Asics or Mizuno?
Adidas.
Yeah, that's a good answer. Sweet or salty?
Sweet.
Biggie or Tupac?
Oh, Tupac. Come on. Cali.
That's right. Long Beach. Sunny or rainy?
Sunny.
Spider-Man or Venom?
Spider-Man.
All right. Dude, that's pretty good. So, all right, we're done. We're done. That's all you need to know about him.
Actually, I want to go back on my sushi. I would say pho. Pho is like my favorite.
Damn, you are a hardcore Long Beach area. So, the funny thing about it is, we got a big Viet population in the Bay Area, but a lot of my friends keep telling me, it's like, oh, yo, you got to try the Vietnamese food. And I forgot which city, but it's like off the hook and all that stuff. So I actually went there with my wife in the winter vacation, and it's very good.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's a Vietnamese place, but one of my best friends in high school is Cambodian. His parents had it was like a strictly pho place. And so we go there before all the games, me and this other buddy. But it was so funny. They're like, oh, do you want to put some sauce or whatever? I'm like, no, I like it just like this. And they just like kill me because the other guy was black. They're like, oh, white boy, like doesn't put anything in his soup. He just takes it regular.
Dude, that's how you know you're like a true aficionado, because you can't taste the broth.
Yeah.
Oh man,
That's
if
true.
If you're ever in the Bay Area, I gotta show you some. There's two places that I go to up here that I know for sure they use a big old bone to make the broth, bone marrow, and it's really good. So you gotta hit me up here. So I had another question. Did you play PVL like five years ago?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. So I'll just briefly talk about kind of how I first encountered you. I played PVL for a team called NorCal Premier, and I don't remember what team you played for, but I remember we were playing against you guys, and I remember seeing in the warm-up, I was like, who the heck is this guy with this crazy mustache? I was like, no, this guy can't be that good. And I was like, oh my gosh, when we played against you guys, you were diming everything. So that was actually my first impression of you. And then after that, that's when I started following your Instagram. I was like, oh man, this guy's he's got a very unique style, and he's like really willing to reach out to people. And then you actually reached out to me on my YouTube channel when I started posting my 9-man volleyball stuff. And that's when you talked about Cambodian volleyball down south and your experience with that. And then
that's right. I played when I was like I mentioned, one of my best friends is Cambodian. In Long Beach, there's like a big Cambodian like park ball scene, or like they actually play across my high school for like thousands of dollars, like street volleyball.
Oh, I believe it.
So when I was in high school, when I was a senior, I think we went, me, my Cambodian buddy, my other buddy, we went to the Cambodian New Year's Festival in Long Beach, and they had like a 4-on-4 park volleyball tournament. So we won the youth, and I think we got like third in the adult. But man, it was fun. There was like 500 people watching. Like it was so funny. There was like a couple other white people there, and like we made eye contact. We're like, hey, what are you doing here? I thought I was the only one.
Yeah, it's funny because my wife is white, but she grew up around a lot of Cambodian too in Stockton and Vietnamese Filipino. So whenever we hang out, and then there's like another group of Asians with another like one white person, she's like looking at us like, I get you, you know, there's
yeah, it's so funny, it's so true.
And then the third time I saw you was I was watching FIVB World League, and I think you guys were playing Serbia. So Eric Shoji gets injured, or he doesn't get cleared to play, and then they throw you in there, and you know the announcers are building up. Kevin Barnett and Paul Slimmer are like, oh, you know, I don't know if he's ready. This is his first time. It's a big game, and then you end up killing it. Unfortunately, you guys lose in like a heartbreaking fifth set, but for sure they wouldn't have made it that far if it weren't for your defensive performance. I mean, you do some crazy stuff, some very clutch plays.
I have a really good story about that game too, if you want to talk about it later.
Yeah.
But, I'll say it now. Yeah. So that was like my first time like traveling with the one team. Like I just always like been left off the roster, whether, I mean, I wasn't that good, but it was just like, I was never going in that World League. I think I was supposed to travel as a second libero, but Reed got injured. And so they took him as a second libero just to keep him there.
Okay.
But his injury was like so bad that when they came back, they're like, hey, you just got to stay home and rehab. And so it was between, I think, me and Alfie, and they took me, and they were like, all right, but you got to we want to take you to Brazil for the World League Finals, but you have to get your passport in like 2 days.
Okay.
And like, we don't think it's possible. I'm like, what? Huh? And so like, I like ran all over like LA, had to get like a favor from a friend, and, like, stuff done, ended up making the trip. And the year before, 2 years before, I played in Brazil, and my agent down there like worked for Mizuno, and he had like these really like flashy shoes, and he gave them to me. I was like, oh, these are sweet, like super Brazilian, bright gold, but they were like a size too big. And so before that game, I was like talking with Murphy Troy. I was like, man, should I wear these? And I was like, no, I shouldn't. They're too big. And he's like, come on, man. It's not like you're going to play. And I'm like, oh, you're right. And so what happened was Eric like went into the bench, like going hard for a ball. Cause like we were just like getting whooped, and like Sprout lit everyone up in the huddle. Eric made like an almost amazing play, but went into the benches, and like a metal thing went into his knee and like gashed his leg.
Damn.
So he couldn't go back in. So I always remember the feeling like Sprout looking back to me, and that look of just like horror, just like we're in the semis, and now I have to play Dustin, who's like never done anything for the national team. And I see the look, and I'm just like, And then from there, it was like I really had to use the restroom, and I almost like ran to the restroom, but then they like pulled me in. And then once I got in the game, I was like, all right, here we go. Because it was like packed. It was like 15,000 people.
Yeah.
And I like take a deep breath, and I look down at my shoes, and I'm just like, oh no. And like the first serve, I went short to me. But yeah, that was like, man, like talk about being like flow or like in the zone. Like I've never felt like that in my life before. Like I got a couple of good passes and digs right away.
Yeah.
And like, looking at I have like some highlight videos from that, like online, and looking at the highlight videos, like the balls I passed were like so like untechnical. It was just like passing balls at my legs, like falling over above my head, but just like everything worked out as well as possible.
Yeah.
And like I mentioned, we ended up losing the game, but we came back the next day and beat Poland in 3 and won the bronze. So
yeah.
Today, not saying that was the cause. Good play by Watten. Anderson off the block and out of bounds. So in spite of the fact that I was told that Shoji has been cleared to play, Watten will stay in. That was that ball up by Watten. And Taylor Sander, good swing high up into the block. United States line. Gates, former UCLA head coach, on the sideline. Sander will track that down. He kind of shanked that and kept in play. They thought they had a 4-point lead. Kovacevic, that ball's up by Watten. Good dig by Watten. He did get his hand underneath that ball.
It was an amazing performance. It was really inspiring. And thanks for sharing the story. I didn't realize that whole backstory, because prior to that, I thought that you were, usually the other libero kind of always brought on, but I didn't know that that was your first ones team trip.
Yeah,
So.
in that time period, it was really weird. After the 2012 Olympics, like, we didn't like travel second libero. And so that was like really odd. So it's just like, there was like a couple tournaments when they took Eric and Rich, and then after Rich had to kind of retire from the national team, they just took Eric. And then that summer they took Reed.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shoot, that sucks. And then out of nowhere, I was like, all right, like, Reed can't go. We want to take you, but it's, you probably can't get the visa done in time. It's like,
Yeah.
But yeah, that I've traveled ever since, and it was great to be a part of that team.
Yeah, and I've seen you get more and more playing time, with each year, and that's been really good to see. But yeah, that's such an inspiring story. So fast forward. Now we'll just get to some questions, if that's cool with you.
Absolutely.
So I'll let you talk about yourself, kind of like your background, family, volleyball experience, where you grew up, and all that stuff.
Yeah. Grew up loving sports. Basketball is kind of my first love, but eventually I just realized, like, I was pretty small, unathletic, and not that good. I went to soccer, kind of same thing. I was just slow, skinny, got pushed off the ball easily. And all throughout my life, my dad had encouraged me and asked me if I wanted to play volleyball, as he played a little bit when he was younger and started the high school program that I actually went to. But I always said, no, it's a girls' sport. And so when I actually was a freshman at his high school where he was still teaching at, the varsity coach had gotten word that I was going to be a freshman and he needed a freshman coach. So again, my dad was like, hey, do you want to play on the volleyball team? I got asked the coach. And again, I was like, no. But I found out a couple of my friends were going to play for the team. So I was like, all right, I'll try it. I fell in love with it. It was great. My dad was like really hard on me, but I really enjoyed it. And then in that spring, I got accepted to a volleyball club team, which I didn't know because I played soccer before. And making a club team for soccer is like a big deal. And then within like the next couple of weeks, they're like, oh, you're going to go to nationals. And I was like, wow, I'm such a big deal. Little did I know, it's like, if your parents had the money, you could be on a team and you could go to nationals. Like, it didn't have anything to do with skill.
Yeah.
So my first club team went to nationals, and I'll always remember it because there was at the time there was open and nationals, and nationals like the second division. So we went to nationals and we got dead last place. We ended up losing to a team from Maryland.
Nice.
To get last place. And so it was good. It was like a really good humbling because I thought I was like such a baller. I wore like wristbands playing, like Nike wristbands. That's so funny. Yeah. Oh man. I had such a bad attitude too. I threw my wristbands, and so I realized like right away that like, okay, I'm not really that good, but I really love the sport. And it's like, all right, like, what can I do? Can I like complain and find excuses or find scapegoats? Or I just kind of pull myself up and like get to work. And so luckily I had a dad, who I mentioned, played volleyball. It was a teacher. And so every day that year we went to the beach and played. Dad's son just got whooped on by a bunch of old guys. And I had like a really bad attitude, but I slowly learned to have a better attitude and this no easy bucket mentality of just going for every ball. And then when I'd come home, I had two brothers that were 4 years younger than me. I taught one of them how to pepper. When he got bored, I'd hit the ball off the wall, pass it myself, hit on the wall. Same thing with my roof. And then when it got too dark, I'd go inside and I drew like bullseyes on like paper, and I stuck that paper to like the wall. So I like set myself, set the wall, set myself, set the wall. And that was just every day for me. I just wanted to get better. I just touched the ball as many times as I could. I ended up working out really too, because in high school, I didn't really have any friends. All the kids from my middle school went to a different high school. So I really didn't have a lot of friends. And so I just played volleyball all the time, especially in the summers. I just lived at the beach, and eventually found a partner my own age, stopped playing against older guys, started playing against better competition. Just every day I was just getting better and better and better. And I just had this unique belief that like with hard work, I could be great. And then from there, I kept on moving up club teams. I walked on at Long Beach State, and it was the same. It was just, there was never this thought of like ego or like I should be playing, but it was like, all right, if I'm on the first team, like coach, you made a bad move because I'm not coming back to the second team. And I just grinded it out, really worked hard in the weight room, started watching video. And then ever since, I've just kind of taken this mindset where it's just like, why not me? Like, why can't I be great? And of course it's a mindset, but you also have to put it in work. And so for me, it's, you know, as I went up the levels, like hard work really wasn't good enough, because not only were guys much more talented than me, but they were also working hard. So it's like, all right, what edges can I find? Can I work hard in the weight room? Can I watch video? Can I get extra reps? And now it's like mindfulness, meditation, journaling, visualization, juicing, eating like a whole foods, plant-based diet. I won't be doing this tonight, but getting to bed on early, trying to get 9 hours of sleep. And so it's just been fun to see like how optimal I can be and how I can improve my game each and every day. Because at the end of the day, it's just fun seeing like my level improve and doing things I never thought I could do before. And so it's just been a fun quest, and it started at a very, very, very humble beginning where the only way to go was up.
Yeah, and I'm really glad that you shared that, because a big part of my channel, even though it deals specifically with volleyball and working out, but I call my company Elevate Yourself, because it's important to, like, for you, I feel like you have a holistic approach to how you approach, you know, volleyball in your life, you know, not just training, eating, your mindset, all those things. And then of course, I never realized that you came from a place of no experience. You know, looking at you play, most people probably think that you're that typical SoCal guy that started playing when they're 8 years old, you know, in the gym. But it makes so much sense. You know, your style is like a very grinding out style, you know, finding ways to get it done and never giving up. And then also, I would say one of your best qualities I appreciate watching is your team mentality. You know, most people who either when they're on the court or in the box, they usually don't celebrate unless something good happens or unless they do something great. But you're like the first one to jump on people and to get people excited. And you really do have that team mentality, which I really enjoy watching.
Yeah, absolutely. And going back to high school, this is why I love social media, because I can speak to like these other younger versions of myself. Like my first year I was on, like I said, I was on a second 16s team and we got dead last. The year after that, I was on another 16-2s team. I didn't even make the first team for the club. And then after that, I was a backup setter for a year. And then I was like not even a starting libero until my senior year. I was like the backup libero. I was a backup libero / setter. And so I always just try to push the message forward. Just like, if you're passionate about it, like, yeah, that's a great start, but, you know, put in the work. And then, you know, when you have that passion, you combine it with work, a lot of things are possible. But I think, unfortunately, too many people just let setbacks dictate their passion instead of having a setback, finding the lesson, growing from it, and continue being like, bring on the setbacks. Like, I'm just going to keep on improving. I'm just going to keep on learning. I'm going to keep on improving.
Yeah. And for you to be a walk-on at one of the top, you know, volleyball programs in the nation is incredible to, you know, and then essentially earning your way on as a backup libero, and then now getting a lot of playing time as a libero on the national team. Kind of reminds me, one of my other favorite players is Riley Salmon. I don't know if you know his story, going from Pierce College and then being a grass volleyball guy working at a warehouse to being a gold medalist. So I just see a lot of parallels of just grinding, believing, being that underdog, and rising above a lot of that. So that's really cool. So when did you decide to be a professional volleyball player?
To be honest, I mean, college was like the goal. I was like, if I can play college sports, I'm like, I'm good. Like, that's great.
Yeah.
But I remember when I was a senior, I was on a bus trip. We were going to play Santa Barbara, I think. And our assistant coach was like, yeah, we're gonna probably recommend you to the national team. I'm like, really?
Nice.
Like, okay. Turns out that, you know, the head coach at the time, Alan Knight, became the USA coach. And so I got an invite to train with the Pan Am team. It's kind of like the B team. And I did well there, and like everyone I was playing with was going to play professional. So I was like, I guess I should try to be a professional volleyball player. It's like, this is what everyone else is doing. Because my goal was just like to go be a volunteer assistant coach at some women's program, get a master's, and maybe coach. Yeah, my first year out of college, I didn't get a contract. No one wanted to sign me. Then my second year out of college, I got really lucky. The libero that I actually was switching time with in club, he had actually played already a year in Austria and was speaking to this Finnish team. I didn't even know like Finland was a country. I was like so oblivious. But he was like, hey man, I think they'd probably like you more than me. I think I'm going to stop volleyball and move to New York and get a real job. So I started talking with them, and it took like 4 months pretty much to figure out if they were going to hire me or not. But
oh man,
yeah, it really was like a fluke. It was just like, I got the shot with USA. I did well. And it was just like, this is the next logical step. Like, I guess I'll continue.
Nice. Now you played for two great coaches, Alan Knipe and John Sproul. What are the similarities and differences between those two coaching styles?
Yeah. So, good question. Alan, they're so difficult to talk about just because I think when you talk about a college coach, it's almost like a father, you know? Like Alan for me is like a guy who trusted me and stuck with me through like thick and thin. And so like I would do like whatever for him, but I really loved how he pushed us, like, and it was kind of like a us versus the world mentality at Long Beach State, because we were like the state school and not like, didn't get the biggest recruits, but he was like, you know what, like, yeah, maybe other teams have the big recruit, but no one's working as hard as us. So I really loved and bought into this mentality of just like grinding out, competitor. And Spraw, the little time I worked with him, which I've really enjoyed, is just like a very mindful approach to the game. The way he perceives and thinks about the game is so different than any coach I've been around. And he's just next level. And I think he does a really good job just instilling this calmness. Like we did like a retreat with like this former SEAL, and he talked about like in battle and, you know, you're in a gunfight. He had this phrase like calm breeds calm. And I think that's the thing with Spraw. He's just, it's amazing like how stoic he can be in these huge games.
Yeah.
But just being very mindful. I love that of him. He's given me some really good life advice, and his pursuit of like personal mastery as well as coaching mastery. It's something that's really not only impressed me, but it rubbed off on me.
Yeah. And Sproul kind of came through that underdog experience too, starting off at Irvine. And the next thing you know, 4 years later, they get a championship with, you know, seemingly a no-name program, just grabbing a bunch of guys. Like, I think, I don't know, Weber, I forgot his first name.
Weber's an guy. Jay Blow, Jason Jablowski.
Yeah. You know, so talk about taking a group of guys that weren't top recruits, but bought in, that totally sold into his philosophy and what they're trying to accomplish. So it makes sense that you vibed both with the underdog mentality of Long Beach and then that understand the game at a high level, but still got to work for it in terms of mindfulness as well as the physical preparation for sprawl. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and Sprawl was actually the only coach that like recruited me too. Like I spoke a little bit with Santa Barbara, not so much, but Sprawl like wanted me to come and play at UCI. But for me, I was just like such a homer to Long Beach State growing up in Long Beach, watching all the games, watching Tazinski. And I had already been bleeding black and gold, you know, since I started. So the choice was so easy. But yeah, I've always had this connection kind of too with Sprawl and him, you know, believe.
And you couldn't get away from that Vietnamese and Khmer food, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Couldn't stay away from that fish sauce.
There's a couple times where I took my teammates to the pho place, and I'm like, "Oh, let me spice it up for you." And they're like crying. They're like, "What did you do to my food?" I was like, "Oh, sorry."
Oh man, dude, some of the spiciest food I've had. So when we go to visit my wife's friends in Stockton, and we go to these parties, and I like spicy food, but I can't handle the level that they eat at. How's your tolerance for spicy?
I like to be daring, but I can't brag. You know, I like to spice it up, but it's like white boy spicy.
Yeah, Southeast Asian is a whole nother level, man.
Absolutely.
So you've talked about kind of your experience being on the national team and your journey on there. I guess you've played in multiple countries. Can you talk about what countries you've played for, the team names, and I guess your experience in each of those countries?
Yeah. So my first 2 years I played in Finland, which I said like I didn't even know as a country. Man, it's really, for most people, it's really, really, really tough because it's insanely cold and insanely dark.
Yeah.
A lot of depression, a lot of suicide. But for me, when I first went there, my first year, I was just like overcome with like abundance that a team like took a risk on me.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was like my first kind of like realization of how powerful mindset could be. Like looking back on it, it's like I never thought about the dark or how much I miss family or missing friends. I just looked at this amazing opportunity ahead of me. Mm-hmm. And so that first year was amazing. The second year was a little harder, but that spun the creation of the list. After my second year, I caught a break because my second year in Finland actually wasn't as good as my first year. But I had 2 American teammates that were playing in the second league of France. And their manager's like, I want an energetic, loud libero. They're like, oh, we got just the guy. So I went to France B. That was a crazy year. We had an owner that was just nuts, but having 2 Americans there was great. I ended up getting best libero in France.
Nice.
This was the second league. And then after that, I won't go into the details, but I had signed with a French team. The French team bailed on me. And I didn't think I was going to get a contract. That was the first year Spraw came with the national team, and he said he had 3 liberos, and I wasn't one of them. I pretty much thought my volleyball career was over. And then out of nowhere, my agent got me a job in Brazil. And this was wild because I believe I was the first foreign libero to ever play in Brazil.
Wow.
And so they had like a weird format for how the teams could decide the players. Mm-hmm. So it was like you had a value, you're either 1 through 6. And so like a guy like Bruno or Sergio, a starter on the national team, was like a 6. Maybe like a foreign or a former starter on the national team was like a 5. And so there was this team who was actually led by the setter on the 2004 gold medal team, the setter Ricardo.
Yeah.
And they had already maxed out their points. And so for libero, they either had to get a young Brazilian libero who had no experience at all in the first league, or a foreigner. And in Brazil, they have big respect for Americans. And the previous 3 summers, I played on the Pan Am team, and we beat the Brazil team a couple times. And so they took me, and that was a wild year. It was something that I thought pretty much my career was made. Like, I'm going to play in Brazil. It's going to be amazing. Like everything's going to be great. which it was. Like the games were amazing. Like there's like 4,000 or 5,000 people for every game. It was wild. Like Brazilian fans are just like freaking lit. Like they go crazy for like just a pass, and it was amazing. But it was really difficult for me, as the Brazilian culture, the Brazilian volleyball culture, is very aggressive and very malicious. And I took everything so personally because I really didn't have any relationships with guys outside the court.
Yeah.
And it was just like, I can't say depression because that's really strong, but there were so many times going to practice, I just didn't want to do it. Like, I remember one time going to practice, I had to take the bus. I just wanted to be like a bus driver. I was like, I don't want to go to practice. Like, I don't want to face like the abuse and the shame that I had in training. So it was a really, really tough year.
Sorry to interrupt. Was that coming from the coaching staff and like players, or was that from fans and audience members?
No, the fans there were amazing. So compassionate, so full of love. It was players and coaches, because I didn't realize it, but it's just, that's how like Brazilian volleyball is. It's just like, they just grind players out, and all it is just like cursing and yelling and just like the strongest like make it out, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, you watch it, like even like with the national team, you see how like the players and coaches react to a player making an easy mistake, or even just making a mistake. They're yelling, they're throwing their hands up, they're like shaming the person. And I just took it so personally, and I was just so confused and so hurt. Yeah. I think I definitely err to being a very compassionate, sensitive person. And I just took it so personally. I thought they hated me. I didn't understand. It wasn't until the end, when one of the really good and cool guys on the team, like people started doing that to him too when he wasn't playing well. And I just realized it was the standard they had for him. It wasn't because if they liked him or not. So after that, actually it was better, but it was like still like 5 months of like suffering until I got to that point.
Yeah, it's hard.
So after that, I spent a year in the French league, which for liberos is kind of like heaven, because overseas, a lot of people don't know this, but there's like a cap for each league for foreigners that you can take. And so I played in Brazil, which you can only have 2 foreigners, even though Brazilian teams usually don't take foreigners at all. I played in Poland, where you can have 3 starters. Russian's a league that only has 2 foreigners. Italy's a league where you can only have 4 starters. So each league has a cap, but in France it's like 6. And so usually for foreign teams, for overseas teams, they're not looking to take a foreign libero, because you'd rather have an opposite or outside, someone that can put the ball away. But in France, since you can have 6 guys, there's a lot of foreign liberos. So that was my first year in France A. That was amazing. I lived on an island, if you can imagine, like Kauai, like unbelievable mountains, hills, beaches. After that, I played another year in France. That was really difficult because I had signed to play with another French team, but that team ended up losing all their funding from the city. And at the end, I just decided to sign with this really low French team that was moving up from the B division to A. And I knew it was going to be tough, but I just had faith if I had another good year in France, I would be able to play on a great team.
Yeah.
But really did not see what was coming. My team ended up going 3-23 that year. We just got whooped. And it was great because that was the year I had the most personal growth, because I thought about quitting. I told my agent to get me out of there. I was pretty close to leaving, just going home.
Yeah.
Then I discovered Stoicism, this book called Meditation by Marcus Aurelius, and just really led to me believe that life isn't just one perception. You can take many perceptions to life. And I just took another perception. And because before I was just like the victim. That was actually the year after I played in World League, where I was kind of feeling good. I was like, this isn't right. This is crap. This gym isn't good. This coach isn't respectful. These players don't work hard. And I was just being such a victim and looking for so much pity. And I finally just kind of pulled myself up with the help of Stoicism. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to worry about all these things that I can't control, but I'm going to put 100% into the things that I can control. And that was the first time I really got after the list and was like doing 100% of everything that was on my list each and every day. I was juicing, waking up early, meditating before I went to bed, stretching, watching so much video on Teams. And when I made this decision, really the results didn't change. We only won 2 more games the rest of the year, but every day was like the best day ever because I woke up with purpose, with intention, with confidence, and with this deep joy that only really comes from inside and not from outside.
Yeah.
And so after that year, I was able to sign in France with a great team in Cannes, but I had a buyout. And this Polish team came to my agent later that summer, and they're like, all right, we want Dustin. We'll pay for his buyout. And my agent's like, do you want to go to Poland? I'm like, yes. Because this is like my dream to play in Poland. Like Poland, one of the best leagues in the world. And kind of like in Italy, they'll maybe take 1, 2 liberos, but that's about it for foreign players. And I played in Poland for 2 years. My first year I played it for American, David Smith, who's still on the national team. And then my second year was last year. And then now I'm in Berlin. So it's been an amazing journey, and I've been so fortunate not only to play volleyball, but I think the biggest thing is just been able to really be by myself and reflect about who I am, who I want to be, while taking notes from all these different cultures and countries I've been able to live in, see and feel how they experience happiness and how I can change around my priorities and values from these foreign places I've been able to live in.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's really great for people who are listening to see, one, how up and down your journey was. And if people always, they just see you on the national team, they see these great highlights on Instagram, and they know about your name and they know you're great in Poland. But even for me, I never really knew how deep some of those journeys went. And like your story about Brazil, I had no idea. I knew I would follow Courtney Thompson and Logan Tom and some of the other people that played in Brazil. But whenever people said it was challenging to play in a certain country, it's hard to really understand what that means until you get the inside story, like kind of like what you shared. And I think what's so important that I've taken away from what you said is we can choose our experiences. And that just goes on, I'm either a victim of my experience or I'm choosing to create my own experiences, whether or not I can control what's going on around me,
Absolutely. Yeah, this is Stoicism. I was just reading this great book because actually in Berlin, it's been a really hard season too. And you would think like, okay, nice season, have it all figured out. But here it's been pretty difficult as well. But I was reading this book, Man's Search for Meaning, and the story of this German psychiatrist and his experience in the concentration camps. And he had a great quote. I was dealing with some stuff here, it's been really tough, but he was like, you can take away everything and anything from a man except his last freedom, which is his attitude. And for me, it was just like, it's like, that's right. And if a guy in a concentration camp can say that, then like, who am I play the victim or look for pity? And so, it's like the old, like, or I forget what it's called. It's like a Buddhist saying, but it's just like talking about like what you'll find in life. And it's just like suffering's a part of life. Whether it be something like a concentration camp or just something very minor, like being overseas, where it's never going to be like perfect. Like even if you're on a top team, like you lose a couple games and like the president's going to come in, bang his fist, like yell at you guys. And it's just like, there's always going to be stress, pressure in volleyball. And volleyball's, it's a big thing. It's probably too big for athletes because at the end of the week, it's like a duality. It's like you won, you're successful. You lost, you're a failure. And if you don't have like a community around you, it's just, you're suffocating in this like this pool of volleyball, and you're just you know, it can be a bad week. It can be 2 bad weeks. It can be a month of like not winning any games. And so
Yeah.
you really have to find like that balance, and you really have to dive within, not be so attached to all these external circumstances that you really don't have full control over.
Yeah. Yeah. When I coach high school volleyball, and I work with a lot of adults, and one thing I always try to instill in them is your end reward can't just be the result of the game or the result of your performance, because that's how you have an up and down performance. But two, it's just, I don't think our human mentality is meant to handle that type of weight. And if you play for the end result all the time, you're either going to get burnt out, depressed, or you're just going to give up. And you know, it's more important. Like for the kids I coach, I always tell them that, you know, learning volleyball and competing and failing and succeeding is just, you know, volleyball is just a medium through which we experience life. It's not life itself. And if we can learn to play for something greater than volleyball, not only will we have a better performance, but we'll have a healthier mindset and approach to the game as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree. It's the same for me. Volleyball has just been a vehicle for growth in and out of the court. And characteristics I've been able to grow in, and just knowing too, is just like, I've experienced so many like highs in volleyball, but you know what, like an hour, 2 hours after, you're like in the hotel room just by yourself, and like the big scope of things, like no one really cares. And just like, you know, it's impermanent. Like, you know, sooner or later, like I'm not going to be a volleyball athlete. Everyone's going to forget about me. And, you know, it's just like everything is impermanent in life.
Yeah.
And to not, for better or for worse, to not get too hung up on the results, and just be all in on the process rather than this like fixed outcome.
Yeah. So now that we've been on the topic of like the metaphysical intrinsic rewards, I want to transition into the physical world and talk about your Adidas sponsorship. It's kind of a contrast between talking about something so spiritual and then now talking about the products and planning. Yeah. So you're actually sponsored by Adidas, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you can talk a little bit about how that came about, and, you know, I don't know many liberos even that get that much recognition. So it's great that you're even in that position as a libero. So if you can talk about how that came about.
Yeah. So it was 3 years ago. Thomas Jaski reached out to, I don't even know what his job title was, like a regional like salesperson, like in the SoCal area for Adidas.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, yeah, you know, I'll give you access to the team site, some money, and like a certain amount of shoes. And I wrote up Thomas. I was like, hey man, like, how'd you get that? And he told me, and I was like, all right. I did the same thing. The guy was like, sure, I'm in. So I signed a 2-year contract with him as this like regional salesperson. And then a year and a half ago, Adidas actually formed like their first like volleyball department, because before they just had like some shoes and like club jerseys, but not like a volleyball department.
Yeah.
So there are 4 people now that are heading that up, and they do an amazing job. And so once my contract was up with them, they reached out to me and they were like, we want to sign you, you know, full time to the actual company.
Nice.
And yeah, it's been really cool working with them. Many people know they bought the contract for USA Volleyball, so they sponsor our national team. They actually just came out for really dope. Last year was the first time they did it. They came off like a summer line. So I'm actually wearing the shirt right now, as you can see.
Yeah, awesome.
So they have some really cool gear, and they're just upgrading the sport in America, which is great to see, because there's just not a lot of people are talking about the sport. There's not a lot of really big interest in it, and Adidas is changing that. Our new CEO of USA Volleyball is changing that.
Yeah.
So it's been really excited to be not only part of Adidas, but the change in momentum for volleyball and getting people really excited, not only about USA volleyball, but to be a volleyball athlete.
Yeah. Yeah. When I first heard that USA was switching over to Adidas, I was thinking like, what the heck? And I thought my perception of Adidas was it's the B-boy brand.
Yeah.
And then you got these uncle shoes that don't change the design. And then occasionally they come out with like one hit here and there. But I could tell like this is the first time that I've actually been using Adidas shoes. I used the Crazy Flights and the Explosive Bounce shoes. And from what I remember wearing Adidas shoes back when I was a kid, this is way better than what it used to be. And so I can tell that Adidas has definitely been putting some serious effort into their design, not just the look, but the performance. And kind of like what you said, volleyball in the US is an untapped market. And I feel like no one's poked the bear yet at Nike to say, hey, you can dominate this market. Because and Asics and Mizuno have had a monopoly only because they're the only few companies that actually make volleyball products. But unfortunately, they're not that great.
The only game in town. But Nike actually, Nike sponsors Micah. Nike works with Jeff, and I think they're going to try and sign a couple other guys. And so I think it's, even though I'm an Adidas guy, I think it's great for the sport. And I don't know, Adidas is doing a lot of good stuff. They got a lot of cool things up their sleeve. And then, like you said, this untapped market, this is where we got our new CEO for USA Volleyball. And he's doing a lot of great things. I don't know if you heard, but we will host the next 3 finals for the VNL, which was formerly World League. And actually might be, I don't think I can say the location. Teaser. I can't say where it might be, but in the next 3 years, we have a free bid to the finals, so it will be in.
Man, it's about time.
Exciting, yeah. This is the first time USA will ever host it.
Oh, that's incredible.
For the men, not the women.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Doug Beal, but I was excited about the new change in ownership because I feel like what sometimes limits growth in our sport is it has a great mom and pops like grassroots, but the grass can only grow so high. You gotta keep moving beyond that. And everything can't be run. And I'm not saying Doug Beal did this, but it's just people are almost too laid back and there's no long-term structure. And so it's really cool to I forgot the new CEO, but it comes from a marketing background, right? So strong business. So it's really cool to have that outside perspective and just logistically to run a great program in terms of like the social media has really taken off. Like I feel like there's no reason why USA Volleyball shouldn't be the top volleyball YouTube channel, in the States.
Oh, absolutely.
So I think it's just putting the effort and having people, young talent, to come in with the know-how to do that.
Jamie's learning the game really quickly, and like I don't know how he got these finals, but he got it. And so when he told us that news, like everyone was flipping out in the locker room. Really sweet. So it's just a really exciting time to be not only an athlete with USA Volleyball, but I think to be a fan of USA Volleyball.
Yeah. And I've always appreciated that all the coaches in USA have instilled and made sure they recruited guys like you, Reed Pretty, Micah, people that have been so accessible, but really down to earth too. And it's really easy for a lot of professional athletes just to kind of brush people off. But, for you to even take the time to talk to me today and to talk to fans, really appreciate that. And I think that's like a top-down mentality, because I've met some other sports teams and even other volleyball players that are pretty much douchebags. And like, if you don't have any interest in them, they're not going to give you the time of day. But I've talked to like Lloyd Ball has talked to me for a full 30 minutes. People like that just in the elevator, and guys like you. So it's really refreshing to see in the world of professional sports.
Yeah, I speak about it a lot because I played in countries like Poland and Brazil where the players are just absolute like stars. Like there's no other way to put it. They're stars. They're in commercials. They're on TV. They have Mercedes-Benz sponsorships. Like it's crazy.
Wow.
The thing about American volleyball players is when we grew up as kids, like at least my generation, I didn't realize it was possible to play pro.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really know about a national team. I just played it because it was really fun.
Yeah.
And like all the guys that are like middles and opposites, they're just like dorky, skinny, like tall kids, you know, that like couldn't play basketball.
Yeah.
And they just loved it. And so it was never about these like external things like fame, money, women, status, where if you're growing up in Poland and Brazil, like this is what you're seeing. Like you're seeing like Bruno in commercials, you're seeing Kwas in Poland, like with his Mercedes, like, and these are also things you can get by being a great volleyball player. But in America, it's just like, I want to be a great volleyball player because I like it.
Yeah.
And so the character is so strong because these guys just do it because they like really love the game.
Yeah.
And eventually, you know, a lot of guys will stop early just because they don't love it.
Yeah.
Because you sacrifice a lot to play outside your country.
Yeah.
Whereas like, you know, the Russian guys, the Italian guys can play inside their country, be in their home city, and make a really good living, even though they're not passionate about the sport anymore.
Yeah. 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 Ironic. I kind of hope, of course, I hope that we eventually get an indoor league someday. But I feel like the reason why our USA volleyball athletes are so awesome is almost because of that, like you said, where you really have to do it because you love it. And being overseas and struggling through being alone and learning a new culture, I think really humbles people and develops a really down-to-earth character. So
yeah, not just that, and it's a big sacrifice. Maybe for single guys like me, it's not so bad, but there's a lot of guys that, you know, have wives, and those wives probably don't want to be like in a small town in Italy, or probably don't want to be in like northern Russia, you know, but you sacrifice a lot because it means so much. And for pretty much everyone on the national team, playing professional and making money is not the goal. It's to win a gold medal for USA.
Yeah.
And so we spend so much time away from each other that when we do come back, it means so much more. Every moment, every training day, every rep means that much more, because this is why we do it. We sacrifice, we live overseas, we live in these remote locations just for the opportunity to be on Team USA, just for the opportunity to try and go win gold, you know, for our country, for our brothers. And so I think that's what makes us really strong, is this amount we have to suffer and sacrifice. And we all know that all the other guys are going through it. And so when we are overseas, we just keep on pushing. And then when we get back, it's like the best feeling ever.
Yeah. Yeah. I played club volleyball at San Jose State in Bay Area. And in 2008, they were processing all the Olympic athletes before they sent them to Beijing at our university. And I remember I got a text from somebody that said, "Hey, the U.S. men's national team is practicing in the event center right now." I said, "It's like, is it open practice?" And they said, "No, but I might be able to find a way to get you in." I got lucky. I had a friend who worked in the event staff. So I canceled all my plans and I snuck in the back door. And me and like two other guys are there. And Hugh is running the practice, you know, Riley Tammons talking shit and all the usual stuff, right? And I had a chance to just sit there for 3 hours and watch them practice. And then I had a chance to talk to Marv, who gave me an American pin, a USA flag American pin, the Patriot. And then I had a chance to talk to Reed Pretty for a good 20 minutes. And it's just, it's a sport that really does give back. And I used to play a lot of basketball when I was younger. And I remember going to tournaments, like, no, everyone has to, you have to always act hardcore. Otherwise, people aren't going to respect your game. So no high fives, got to have a hoodie on, got to have headphones. I don't want to laugh because I'm going to seem weak. But, you know, it's not like that in volleyball, which is why I love the sport.
Yeah, there's just, I mean, at least for the Americans, there's just not a lot of ego.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that, again, is because like it's just intrinsically why we do it. But I think Sproul also does a really good job manifesting that environment in the gym and the player who chooses to be a part of the program.
Yeah. All right. Well, we got time for one more question. So I'm trying to choose from my list of questions, and I'll let you choose one of these three, because these are kind of like a deeper life question. First one is, what did you want to be when you were a kid outside of volleyball? So that's option one. Option two, who has been your biggest influence in life? And option three is, where do you see yourself in 10 years? So I'll let you choose between those three.
I'll go option three.
Okay.
So I definitely think it's possible. Like, assuming I don't find a family wife to continue playing for like another 4, 5, 6 more years, just because I really enjoy the lifestyle, being overseas, experienced in different countries.
Yeah.
But 10 years, I find it really fascinating, this thought of like living like different lives within a life. Because like, who knows like what happens like when we pass, like whatever happens to us. But I think it's been really fascinating so far. Even though I've just been a volleyball player, I've been a volleyball player in Germany. I've been a volleyball player in Poland. I've been a volleyball player in south of France, north of France, island France. And I think it'd be really cool to live like different lives when I'm done with volleyball, but like in extreme conditions where it's like, maybe I'm in India, maybe I'm in Thailand, maybe I'm like volunteering in Africa, or like just like mastering a skill, or like going to Japan to like learn yoga, going to India to study under a guru, and to like have like a year and just like live in a total foreign different country where like maybe there's like, it's like a third world country, and then just like everything is like really uncomfortable, and to see like how I grow from this.
Yeah.
These like really interest me.
Yeah.
But who knows? Because everything will change, you know, if I have a girlfriend or wife, I don't think they're going to be into that. But for sure traveling. I just think it's just everywhere you go, there's someone that has like a gift for you. And I just find it so fun to travel different parts of the world, different regions, and to learn about different cultures and what they value, what their definition of happiness is, and does that resonate with me? So I don't know, traveling somewhere, maybe volunteering, and I think just overall, I want to live a life where I'm able to of course earn a living, but to give back. I think that's most important for me.
Yeah, man, that makes sense. It seems like you crave very deep life experiences, regardless of that. And I was hoping you would say you would try to make a living off of street Cambodian volleyball. $1,000 a game.
Man, I played in high school. I played like a pickup game. I brought like my buddies in from Manhattan Beach, and we got beat. It was like outside my parents' house by a park. I remember going home, running, getting like $20 to pay the guys. I'm like,
oh man, dude. You know what's funny is Chinatown volleyball's kind of got us. I mean, as you probably learned, like Asians love to gamble. So 9-man. Let's see. The next one's going to be in Toronto. I'll let you know when the next 9-man is every year in case you want to stop by and just check it out. But you know, it's played on asphalt. It's just total street ball. And I remember we were visiting a neighboring Chinatown, and they had so the 9-man volleyball court is 3 feet wide on each dimension. So it's larger, the net's lower, and you're playing on asphalt. And these Chinese people, these like super village hardcore people, were playing one-on-one on a larger court and a lower net for money. And they're like throwing cash down on the side. You know, you got all the OGs on the side just throwing cash down during certain points. And there's no referee, which always blows my mind. But yeah, it's rough. I mean, they're still diving, they're getting bloody. And yeah, it was a sight to see, but that's another.
I've actually heard like, okay, Cambodian volleyball is legit, but like the Mexican volleyball. I heard that stuff's gnarly.
Okay.
I actually got offered like a plane ticket and $4,000 once to travel to like Atlanta to play in one of these tournaments. But it's like I don't know where this money's coming from. Like people have guns, and I'm like, yeah, man. I don't think I could have a future of USA volleyball. I think I'm out.
That's true. Cool. Well, I really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule, and it really means a lot to me that you would take the time to talk and share your life and answer all these questions. So this is going to be a really nice treat for all the fans that will be watching this on my channel. But once again, if you want to hook up with Dustin or just get some inspiration, I think you have a website too, right? DustinWatten.com.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just deleted it. I need to build it. I need to build one back. If anyone's listening and they want to, they're good at designing websites, hit me up. But yeah, I gotta get that back up. My old one was so bad, and so I'm starting over.
Okay.
So for now, just Instagram.
Okay. Stay tuned for the website, but you can check him out on Instagram, and then watch out for him on the national team, and that's a good way to get some inspiration that way. So
yeah, hit me up at Instagram, Dustin Watten. Even though I'm like backed up right now, I pretty much respond to every message. I'm just happy to help. Like I mentioned before, I was just an average, short, skinny, dorky kid that just really loved volleyball. And I was lucky that I had some really great mentors in life to help me continue pushing. And I know not everyone has that luxury. And so I'm happy to be that mentor and to share the lessons and experiences that have not worked for me as well as what has worked. And so any questions, I'm happy to help. And I pretty much answer everyone that writes me. So
awesome. Appreciate that. Well, hopefully next time I see you, we'll be eating pho together, either in SoCal or NorCal, and I can try your famous sauce concoction. I'm a naturalist when it comes to pho, but I do know that there are definitely some pho specialists that got some crazy sauce mixes that I gotta hit you up for. So
yeah, man, you gotta come. You gotta make a SoCal trip. For everyone listening too, our practices in Anaheim are always open to the public.
Yeah.
They're usually like from 9 to 11:30, but I don't think anyone knows this, but our practices are always open to the public. And then like, if you're a Matt or Micah fan, like they'll sign stuff. They'll probably talk to you for a little bit if you want to.
Yeah.
And there's a couple good flood places in Anaheim, so
hell yeah.
Gotta make it happen.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, thanks again for your time. Looking forward to see the comments in this video, and don't forget to connect with Dustin.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me, man. It was a great conversation.
All right. Take care.
Thank you, my brother. Great to talk to you. Have a great day.
All right. You too. Bye.